Hi, my name is Kristen Weardon, and I'm your host for Icons of Naples, this series where we honor our Naples community heroes, our movers, shakers, and history makers who helped make our community the place we love to call home. Welcome to Icons of Naples, where we honor the history makers, the movers, and the shakers who helped make Collier County and Naples the place that we love to live. I'm your host, Kristen Weardon, and today we have an extraordinary guest, Thelma Hodges, whose history is woven into the earliest days of Naples, definitely before my time, but she has some amazing history to share with us today, all the way back to, I believe, 1955. Through hurricanes, rapid growth, and decades of change, Thelma became not only a caregiver, but a pillar of strength and courage and compassion for the area. Alongside her beloved husband, late Earl Hodges, a visionary and philanthropist and champion for Naples, the two built a legacy of service that has touched and educated our community of Southwest Florida and Naples. This is a rare opportunity to hear history. So stay with us through the end because this is going to be great. Thank you, Thelma, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm not sure I can contribute much, but I'll try.
Well, I remember I used to live behind the old funeral home. I used to live behind the old funeral home.
Oh, okay.
I lived on Frank Whiteman.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. And when we were there then.
Yep. I used to see you and Earl all the time when I would ride my bike.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up near you. I grew up near you.
Yeah, so did you ever stop to see us and say hello?
Yes. Yes, we would chat. We'd have parking lot chats on my way back and forth on my bike.
What was your maiden name?
Bertazzoni.
Oh, from one Italian to another.
Yeah, now it's weird and much easier.
Yes.
Much easier.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So let's go back to when you arrived in Naples. It was 1955, and you have some history not only with the hospital, but you were one of the first nurses.
Well, there were three of us, so you might call us a unit, and you'd say it was one. But my younger sister and our friend Angeline, we left Lawrence, Mass. On November 14th and started coming south. None of us had ever been south of Baltimore, Maryland, where I was for my 3-month training when I was in nursing for psychiatric. So it was quite an adventure for us. And I think in the years to come, they start calling us the frontier nurses. Oh. So I'll probably refer to myself as the last frontier nurse. My sister and Angeline have both died since, in the last 10 years. So far as I know, the others that came after we did, most of them are gone also. But when we did come, it was on November 18th, 1955, and we had called Dennis DeManch, who was our first administrator, and told him we were in Fort Myers at a Howard Johnson's. And he says, well, good, after you finish eating, just get back in the car and get on 41 and stay 41 until you see some lights. So we did what he told us to. We kept coming south, and the first light we saw when we got to Bonita was beneath Everglades Weather Gardens. And there was a trailer park across the street. There were 1 or 2 lights there. But that was the first sign of any civilization that we saw outside of maybe a light, like away in the distance. And that was 1 or 2. And the road was dark. It's a good thing there weren't many cars on it. At that time, there wasn't that much traveling. But we did end up in Naples at 10:30, and at that time, where the parking garage is now, was a restaurant run by Julie Benjamin called the Flaming Fountain. And Dennis was there because she had one of the local telephones in town. So.
Oh, okay.
So because she had the restaurant, So we met him there, and we asked where where were we, and he said, well, we're in Naples. And the first thing we saw was lots of piles of sand on both sides. And then we saw one light, and we said, oh, is that the beach club? And he said, no, that's the water plant. And the water plant is still there on 41, and the beach club is now gone. And that was like maybe a mile away, which was all by sand. We couldn't see it until you got up there. So anyway, he took us to the house that he rented for us on 8th, back behind St. Anne's Church. Now, mind you, there weren't many roads. So we went 41, did end up 5th Avenue, and got to 8th, or got to 3rd. 3rd was so far. And then we got to the church, and the house was back behind the church. So that was our first experience of hitting Naples. So the next day, Dennis picked us up and took us to where the hospital is now. It was a shell. The rooms were divided in, piles of sand all over, all beach sand all over the place. But there was a motel at the corner of 4th and 41 that is now, I think it's gone. Oh, yeah, the hospital has that now. They ended up with their wellness program. So we went and looked around, and he said, now we're going to get this set up, and we're going to open by March. Well, there were only 3 of us and him, so he said, we'll do it. So we went to his office, which was at the corner of 5th and the Trail. That was Dewey Pauly at the time, and that was his office. And we were there ordering instruments, furniture. We were doing all the ordering through him. And then when the artists come in, we had to undo all of it, inventory it, and get it set up so to be ready for them to take to the hospital when the hospital was finished.
Wow.
And so we would sit on the floor, no air conditioning, temperatures in the 80s, and of course coming from Massachusetts, it was a little different. Am I going on to?
No, I love this. Please. We want to hear the story.
Okay, 'cause I don't want to
as much or as little as you want to share. It's your time.
All right, I don't want to be a rambling old lady.
Oh, no. Trust
Okay,
me, you are
so-
not rambling.
All right, so anyway, we did see the hospital, and we did the inventory, but Angeline at the time was getting paid, and we weren't, my sister and I, so we had to do private duty. And you had to have a car because there was no transportation. And so Angeline supplied us the transportation, and my sister and I did private duty for about 8 weeks before the hospital opened. And so I would work the 7 to 3, and Angeline would drop me off. Then she'd pick me up and drop my sister off, and I would go back to the office with Angeline and start inventorying and getting the stuff together. And then we'd pick Jerry up at 11, and we would go home. We wouldn't go back to the office. So we did this until February 20th, when the hospital started hiring, and people start coming in, the employees and all, start setting it up to be, well, part of what is now Naples Community Hospital. But we were very proud of what we did. And I think the people of Naples were thrilled because they had coconut funds where they were selling coconuts and putting money in the women. They had the gray ladies, they called them. There were about 15 of them. And they helped us with the hospital, setting it up and, getting things together. Because they wanted this hospital so bad. Most of them came from north, like the Briggs and the Strattons and all, the whole But they were here for 4 months, and they felt going to Fort Myers or Miami, unless there was an emergency, was not necessary.
Right.
And that's why they decided they needed a hospital. And I'm sure if they were alive now, they would be as thrilled as I am to see how far it's gone and what we have done. So
it is amazing the campus that's there now versus even when I came here in 78. It was still just, I think, the original 5-story building, or not the original, but the next one. And then the parking garage was not there, and the wellness center was not there.
No.
So they've taken over really that whole block and a few blocks around them.
No, and at that time, that was the only one. And everybody loved it. Even for an ingrown toenail, they would come in just because they wanted to use. Well, you ought,
just to
since
see
you
it.
grew up here, you ought to know some of that went on, because we didn't have all the facilities.
No,
because we were a small town, small fishing village, and we were proud of it. At least I was. That's why I guess I've been here 70 years.
I think you like it.
Yeah,
I think you kind of liked it.
If not, I'd better find out. So, anyway.
What made you make that decision, the three of you make the decision to come all the way to Florida?
Well,
Was
I
it the
didn't
job or you just wanted to change?
I didn't make the decision. When I graduated from nursing school, my sister Jerry went in. My mother had 7 of us, and so they wanted to see we all got educated. And my sister Jerry and I decided we were going to be nurses, because she was 3 years younger than I was. My mother had 5 girls, 6 girls and 1 boy. So there were 7 of us. But anyway, my old age, I got off the message. What was I?
Oh, no, I just wondered what made you decide on Naples for your nursing career.
So I,
the
at
three of
the
you.
time, had come with a friend, and her sister was married to a soldier. This was in the Second World War. And he was stationed in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And the one gal, Barbara, that I graduated from nursing school with, she wanted to go down there and work for a while and live with her sister at the base. And so she wanted somebody to go with her. She asked me. And of course, being old Italian, my mother and father were, especially my mother, because I think my father had died by then. And so anyway, we did go. I did go. And I stayed there 6 months. And my sister Jerry called and said, "You always wanted to go to Florida. Well, come on home. Get your clothes. We'll move into Florida."
Oh.
And so that was how we got there. Because Dennis, the first administrator here, was administrator of the small hospital where I came from at the time. And that's how Jerry and Angeline, because they both worked there with Dennis. And that's how all 3, I did go home, and all 4 of us packed up and came down here.
So she made the decision, and everybody's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, just because I liked the weather. I hated the snow and the cold.
Ah.
So that was
I
what
see.
drew me. No, so that's how we get here. And I don't think I ever made a mistake that I would regret. And I have enjoyed Naples. I met my husband here. We've had a good life. So I really appreciate what Naples has done for us, but also what me and my husband have done for Naples.
Oh, yeah.
We put a lot of work. I don't know, maybe not as much money as the others, but we put a lot of work and a lot of money in this community because we loved it so.
Well, I think when it came to the beginnings of, say, like the hospital, I mean, people don't understand. Like you said, you're sitting on the floor unpacking things to make you're unpacking all the inventory to make the hospital become the beginning of what we have now. Somebody had to start it.
Well, yeah, we did. And we had 10 doctors.
Wow.
So we had, that included Hinton from Immokalee. And I don't think Marco at that time wasn't even that, well, it wasn't even that civilized yet. It was
No, because
just
the bridge wasn't here.
yeah, no,
So you
no,
had to go to Chokoloskee and all the way around.
around and back, yeah. And so it really wasn't even in the picture, not until after the 60s, the late 60s, early 70s. So
Let's go on. So you were here in 55.
yes,
And then in 60, Hurricane Donna came.
Donna came 61, 62.
So
60.
I heard
September 10th, Earl's father's birthday, September 10th, 1960. We had the hurricane. Now, at the hospital, they had the skeleton crew. And so my sister was there working in the emergency room for any accidents and stuff. And at that time, Earl had been here already. He came the year after I did, and he worked as a funeral director. At that time, there was one funeral home here, and Earl worked there as a funeral director. And at that time, they had the ambulance business also. So they ran ambulance and hearse at the same unit, and they worked both of them. And so Earl did that, and I was at the funeral home with the wife, with Peg Pittman, and we were taking care of the funeral home, and Dick and Earl were running up and down the county, picking up people that had to go to the hospital. They had them in the emergency room. They had them in the lobby, and then most of them had to bring their own blankets and stuff, but they sat in the lobby, for hours, and especially the pregnant women, black and white, and at that time we were segregated, because we had a black delivery room and a white delivery room. Nobody ever said anything about surgery, but that was the two. They were segregated, and so we had. They stayed, but the water came up to the door of the hospital.
wow.
So they didn't get any water inside, but they were lucky there. And we were at the funeral home, Peg and I, and when everything stopped, no rain, no lightning, no nothing, we decided to get in the car and go up to the beach and see what was going on. Well, we went up to the beach on 7th, and you could not see the water. It was all the way to the skylight. You could have walked to Mexico.
Wow.
So that was when they always said the eye of the storm is turning.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that was, and so we looked and we decided we better get out of here because something's going to happen. So we got back to the funeral home in time, and the water did come back, and we were flooded. I think some of the water went over the bridge, and it was into East Naples. So it came back with a vengeance. I wouldn't be here now if we had stayed there. So,
Well, the backside of the storm.
I would have probably been swept away. So,
Is it true what they say when hurricanes come, women go into labor? When they go into labor because of the storm?
oh yeah,
Yeah, they must have had a lot of births that day.
that was during Donna.
Yeah.
I don't mean. See, I didn't know that because I didn't get to go back to the hospital until after the storm was over, and then we went back and helped set up and clean up and get just like we were in operation, had nothing that ever happened.
Wow.
And so, but we didn't have. There weren't many. I don't think there were casualties. I take that back. There were 3 or 4 from Bonita Springs. They had a restaurant or a little bar on the bay, and I think they were the ones that were killed. Now, if I may be the wrong storm, but I remember that. I think those were the only casualties, I think, that were during Donna.
I heard Naples did well considering the magnitude of the storm. That Donna, like the hospital, fared well because it was a newer property.
Yeah.
But that it really changed a lot of Naples because people had to come in and rebuild.
Oh, yeah, because we had to have electricians, carpenters. You had to have cleaners because everybody was just so complacent for living here, doing your job, fishing when you wanted, go to the beach with your dogs, and you could romp around and do what you can't do now.
Right.
And so that was how, I think that changed Naples, because in '62, when people start coming and building and redoing, of course, all these new bills start coming. No dogs on the beach and all that stuff, which is only natural.
As a community.
Especially in this day and age, you wouldn't want animals on the beach. So
Yeah, I from some of our other guests too, we had a few people who were in development.
Yeah.
And they said the first real boon to Collier County and to Naples proper was after Hurricane Donna.
Yeah.
There was your first, boom, so to speak,
yeah,
of people coming in.
The first one that did that was, now his name went right out of my head. He was a Swedish, I think, and he started lately, Dubikov.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I remember him. He was one of the developers, and he developed Laley.
And they thought he was crazy because it was so far.
Yeah, because not only that, and then Earl went into business himself, and we opened the funeral home in 1962. And when people found out where he was going, they said, "You're crazy. That's out of town. You're never going to get anybody out there." Well, now they should all be here to see what's going on.
Right.
We're way beyond the funeral home now and the cemetery. It's all the way up, I guess, to the end of Florida. That's how because people have come. We have ideal weather. Everything is clean and pretty and bright, which I love.
Yeah.
So I think that's what keeps me going.
Keeps you like in Florida.
Yeah, so, and the hospital has been going because, let's see, when we first opened, if we had a toenail, we got excited. Yeah, because people were still leery of us. A lot of them still went home and said, no, they weren't going to have surgery here. They're going back home to their surgeon, and then they'd be back after that, or they were going back to Miami. Some of them weren't even having the deliveries here because they weren't sure. But then when the doctors start coming and the different specialists, then things change. Then people start trusting us. And they figured, well, if these doctors are coming, then we must have a pretty good hospital. So
You might know what you're doing at this point.
Yeah, that's the way. And it's only natural.
Right. Well, especially back then, people weren't doctor-centered. They only went when they had to, I think.
That's it.
If I call it the farmer mentality, which is unless there's a limb falling off, they don't go to the doctor.
Oh,
yeah, there's a we don't have to go kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know a few people in my family
Yeah.
who you can't get them to go to the doctor unless there's a gaping, bleeding wound, So, but in those early days, there wasn't a lot of staff. You had to do a lot of hours back in those days at the hospital.
Oh, no. We didn't, at first we were so excited about everything. We never kept hours. And of course, we worried about the days because we would take time off on Saturday and Sunday. But they didn't have, when we started growing, they didn't have the help. And so Jerry and I, and we had a couple of people, couple of aides and all, but we had emergency room, central supply, and surgery. And so we had to fulfill 24 hours, 7 days a week. We had to fill those hours. And, of course, a lot of us, now, at night when we got called, well, we couldn't go home and go to bed. If we had surgery, we had to stay there. And it was just like being a doctor, the same way, because we had to be there with them. So it worked out. But, we did it with love. And we figured it was our community. I did because Jerry left after about a year and a half. But Angeline and I stayed. and she was very fond of the place. But I felt it was my town because I loved the sun, and I figured, boy, they supplied me with a good place to finish my life. And so I thought, well, the least I can do is my best to get them going. So that's how it worked out. We had a lot of problems. We did have, but just like everything else, we had lots of surgery or we didn't have any. So, yeah. And then we had some deaths a couple of deaths in surgery, which is the bad situation.
Right.
But it does happen, and it's unfortunate. But we tried our best, and when the doctors kept coming, then we figured, people in town figured, this must be a place that's going to stay.
Right.
And so we stayed, and we become what we have now. People wanting to come, and we appreciate it. And
Right.
I'm thankful that I was able to do what I did for the hospital to get it where it is today. So,
Well, you told me, too, that there was an original name of it. What was the original name of the hospital?
Naples Memorial. And when Mrs. Briggs found out that the funeral home had, when the cemetery, a group of the developers, real estate guys here that were local, had been here for a while, they had bought this property on 111 and decided that was where they put the cemetery, away from everybody, but still they know they have it. And so, because to get there was not straight 41. You had to go separate roads because there wasn't, I don't think 41 was started when I think it was finished when I was born in 28. So we did have that to Miami. And then they had the road to, on Pine Ridge, going to the farms that were there. Never went further than, well, I think right now would be Livingston Road.
Yeah.
So, and then going north, I don't think it even went to the high school because we didn't have the high school until after the 80s. So,
Yeah.
well, lots has changed. But when Mrs. Briggs found out that they had a cemetery and it was Naples Memorial Gardens, she right away, the week before the because all the stainless steel was NMH. And as I said, I have a fork left that I forgot to get. Well, I couldn't find it when I gave the hospital what I had for their 50th anniversary. So I don't know what they've done with it. But when Mrs. Briggs found out about the cemetery a week before, she said, we can't allow that. People won't come because they're afraid they're going to die and go to the cemetery. So they put it Naples Community Hospital. And as I said, I do have a fork, an oyster fork at that. That was how much they liked the hospital, that they even had oyster forks.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
who has oyster forks?
Yeah.
And they just they
That's
engraved
it.
everything.
Those people, the people that wanted it had the money and they wanted their comfort. And they did get it because when we first started that, and some of them got sick, well, of course, the first thing the administrator would say, now remember, they're founding members, and so we have to be, extra kind to them.
Yeah.
But we were kind to everybody.
Right.
So
right.
that's the one thing I think about nursing. If you go into the nursing business, I think you have to be very compassionate and very gentle, because I don't think if you're too rough, you won't last too long. You'll wear out and people will get tired of you. So,
Right.
but I think so I feel that the people coming and they saw what we did, they became more careful, more caring, and more just like everything else now. They figured, well, we'll stay because we've got a town, a city, and we have all we need. And so no use running back home. And so that was it. and we've gone further. Now, but they've already have satellites
Right.
around the county.
Well, it's such a big county.
Yeah.
They needed,
Yeah,
as the community grew.
Yeah, because, even when we were in Everglades, and you had to go, most of it was by boat until you get to a certain point, I guess where the railroad was.
Yeah.
Because you had to come the canal.
Right.
Yeah, because there was no place else to come.
Coming to the hospital by boat.
Yeah, that was it. Or else the doctor because I remember Jim Craig. He was here in 48. He came, I think he came from Indiana, and he came and took over. There was a doctor here. I don't know where he came from, never did meet him because he retired in 48, and Jim Craig, who was the doctor here when we came, along with John Malley, who was one surgeon. So we had those two. Then William J. Bailey came, so we had two surgeons. And Langley was the OBGYN. And Garland was the GP.
I can't believe you remember all of this.
But see,
That's amazing.
that's why you have to get me now because I am 97. And, how much longer can I go? And
Well, I got to tell you, I don't remember half the names from 10 years ago.
Yes, and you're quite, I hate to say this, but you're quite a bit younger than I am.
I got to tell you, I am fascinated by your history retention. It's awesome.
I'm not I'm not boring you.
Not at all. Are you kidding me? This is fabulous. Because, the reason I wanted to do Icons of Naples was so that people know the history when they walk into the hospital.
Yeah.
Or they go to Everglades and they say, wait, that lady, Aunt Thelma, said people had to boat from here.
Yeah.
Like these are things that if people know the history, they appreciate where they are more.
So, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So that's why
you
we
hope
put this
they
together.
do, yeah.
Right.
So,
So you met Earl.
but Earl was,
So tell us a little bit about how you met Earl and tell us all. I remember Earl, but a lot of people don't know who he is.
Yeah,
So
well,
tell
yeah.
us.
Well, Earl had been in the service, and his aunt and uncle came. His uncle was Uncle Clarence. He was a beautician up in Ohio in Akron General. But he had a beauty shop there and a beauty shop downtown. And so I guess a lot of the people up there, the women, when they came down here and found it and didn't have a beautician, they talked Clarence into coming down. So he and Christine came down in 55 in August. And then they moved down here, and Clarence set up the first shop on 7th and Tamiami Trail. It's the building before the automobile auto on 41.
Okay.
And Porsche, no, not Porsche, Jag.
Within 41.
Yeah, so he had, in the corner of that building, he had the first beauty shop there. And Clarence and Christine had bought the Breezeway, which isn't there anymore, on 3rd Avenue North. 3rd Avenue and 3rd or 4th Street.
Okay.
And they had an apartment complex there, 6 apartments. And Earl's father had, and his mother, had the Olympia apartments, which is across the street from, on 6th.
Okay.
One block up from where Clarence and Christine were. So the brothers were in neighbors, really, and had apartments there. And Earl came down to visit. He got out of the service, the Korean War. Earl was in 2 wars. He was in the World War II. At 17, his father signed him up, even though he didn't want to, but he did. And then he went to Korea. So Earl had 2 services. And so he came down to visit Clarence and Christine, and at that time they lived on Third, Fourth, Fifth. They at the Breezeway, and I didn't know them, and so he came visiting them, and he was going back, and Christine said, "No, you're not, because I got you a job." And he said, "What job?" And so Pittman apparently had needed an apprentice. He said, but Earl had already been a funeral director from 1948, so he already had his license. But at that time in Florida, you had to work for a licensed place for 6 years before you could get your license.
Okay.
And so Earl came down. He wasn't planning on staying. And Betty, Les at that time, was in charge of the chamber in the building that's still there on 4th and where Fleshman Boulevard, yeah.
Okay.
He was there. And Betty knew Clarence and Christine had come here. And so she invited them for dinner. And they said, well, my nephew is here. And so she said, do you have somebody for him? So she said, well, there are 3 gals across the street from me. I'll see about one, yeah. So she came over, and she asked me if I'd like to come to dinner. And I said, the others come, and she said, no, just you, because I only have room for one more. And so that was how I met Earl. Oh. I went there, and she introduced me to Earl, and he drove me back across the street. And at that time, I was very active in the Junior Women's Club, and we were getting ready for the Crystal Ball. We always had the Christmas ball at the Beach Club, and we called it the Christmas Ball. The Crystal Ball.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Jerry and Angeline were coming, and I said to Earl, if you'd like to come, you're welcome to. It's no dating, it's just, all of us get together. And so he did come, and he said he was going back home, and his aunt said, no, you're staying here. But he did go home and get his clothes and came back in January of 56.
Wow.
And so he's been here ever since.
And when did you get married?
We got married in 58.
Okay, so a nice courtship. So she was a matchmaker a little bit.
Yeah, so Betty was the one that called us. And so she and Christine got together and decided. And so
they made the decisions.
Yeah, this would be a good match. So we
that's
all
cute.
did go to the ball, and he had a good time. And so after that, I guess I see him coming in because he accepted the job at the funeral home, and they also had the ambulance business.
Right.
And so he would come in, and we'd talk and stuff. Then we start going out. I invited him home with the gals, and we'd have a cookout of stuff and have other, like Bill Ryan at that time was alive. And he had some friends, Elwood and other guys, and we would just have cookout and all. And so that's how it went from there. And then when Jerry, my sister, decided she was going back home, Earl said, are you going too? I said, no, I'm staying. Okay, he said, that's good. So anyway, I stayed, and we got married in 58.
Wow.
So, and then he still worked for Pittman until 62, and then he opened his own place, which is used to be Rooms to Go. It still is. It's an empty building, but he was there for about 40 years.
Yeah, it was there a long time. It was there till Rooms to Go. It was a staple on the corner.
So right. Your neighbor, which I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you were too young. So
I think I would just ride my bike by. I remember one time it was dark. It was dark, and you were coming out, and you said something to me about, like, don't you better get home because it's dark out.
Yeah, so-
And you'd seen me, over the years.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going now. I'm going home, Miss Thelma. And she's like, well, you go straight home. It's dark. And I was like, I'm going.
Yeah, so
You gave me a little scolding for being out in the dark in my bike.
And at that time, we didn't really have to worry.
No, it was just dark. I think it was
Yeah,
late.
no, but because at that time we had everybody almost knew everybody. So if anything happened, somebody'd be there.
Right.
So.
And that neighborhood had been there for so long that you really did know all your neighbors back then.
Yeah, so.
Nobody had the garage opener where you press the garage opener, you go in, close the door, and you don't see anybody.
Yeah, so.
Everybody saw everybody, and there was only one car, so sometimes people walked.
So.
Yeah.
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 So.
You and Earl built such a reputation in the community for giving back, philanthropy, over the years. When did that start, and what was it your mission or your heart that told you to do those things?
I don't really know. I think we never had any children, and Earl was an achiever, so was I. I've changed with age. So, but I think we started. Earl was a Shriner. He was a Mason, and he belonged to different. It eventually ended up he belonged to 23 different organizations, and I belonged to 13. And we did work with each one of them. We worked with the shrine parades. We worked money from raising funds for the Rotary and stuff like that. It wasn't that he just put his name out there. He did work. We did work with it. And I think it just went from there. And I guess we figured Earl always was a visionary, and he loved real estate. He loved to dabble. And he was probably you'd say he was a gambler. And he would see something and he'd say, you know what, that is going to be something someday. Maybe I should think about buying it. Well, of course, at that time, I made $275 a month at the hospital, and he worked. I think he made $300 a week at Pittman. So at that time, you could buy property for $10 a month, or $10 down to $10 for a month. That's if you had the extra money.
Right.
So, that's how. Anyway, but I'm happy to say that he did do some investing, and so that I am able to be being taken care of in my old age. So,
what part of, just to touch on Earl a little bit still, what part of Earl's legacy or his life's work do you look back on and you say, I'm super proud of him for that?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that Earl always believed in education, because even though his mother died when he was 9, and at that time he was sort of rough because he had a brother and a sister. The sister was 16, and the brother was 14, and Earl was 9. And the father had a beauty shop. This was up in the hills of Tennessee. And he had a beauty shop that also had showers and haircuts and stuff, because they lived in a small community in the middle of Tennessee. So, again, I've lost train of thought.
Oh, yeah, Earl's educational legacy.
His legacy, okay. And so I think Earl's father always said, Earl, you get somewhere if you work for it. People don't give it to you. You have to work. And Earl always thought, you have to work whether it's something you like or don't like. Until you find what you want, you should work to support yourself. Learn, and you learn every time you do something different, you learn something different.
Agreed.
So
Yeah, that's
he felt
beautiful.
Education was the thing. And that's why when he was approached about financing international college back in the 90s, it was started. Lou Trainer was the one that talked to him and got him into it. And he felt that women, especially, if they could go to school at night and better themselves, and if he could help do that, then that was what he would do. So he said so he and Lou set it up, and that's when they changed the name to Hodges University. And Earl was really, he did work for it, and he did we worked trying to help them financially and all. And so that was his one thing he was real proud of.
Oh, that's
and I'm
beautiful.
sorry it didn't work out. And I'm not, because he would have been very disappointed. Because he really believed in the university, and he thought it would help people. So
That is a beautiful tribute to him.
Yeah,
For sure. Now, you moved from, you sold the property over the original Hodges Funeral Home.
Oh, that was 1993.
And then you moved over, was that when it moved to Memorial Gardens, the big complex that's there now?
No,
Or
that's it. Earl sold the business in 93, and he still worked there. We still did. Mm-hmm. And then I think they moved to the cemetery like 5 years later.
Okay.
I think that's because Earl had the cemetery, but just like everything else, had problems. And the biggest problem was the grass. And people even wrote letters to the editor, and that would upset Earl because Earl didn't like controversy. He thought, this is what it's going to be, and people should enjoy it,
Right.
and I want to see them enjoy it.
Right.
But when he read those letters to the editor, that upset him. And he thought, well, it's not worth it, because we were already retired, and Earl loved to hunt, and he loved to travel, he loved to fly. Earl had a pretty good sense of humor. Everybody at the funeral, but he was, when he needed to be serious, he could, but he was a good guy. So that was it. I guess he would have been real proud if it had gone on, but it isn't, and
Right.
I'm sorry the whole thing worked the way it did, but that's the way life goes. So.
It does. But then the Naples Memorial Gardens, the Hodges Funeral Home at Naples Memorial Gardens, is become an anchor, really, for the community.
Now the people, I can't remember if the people that bought it first, I think it's still under the same ownership, but they bought the funeral home on 41, and then I think they bought the cemetery.
Okay.
From Earl, and so.
But it's really become a place, like your birthday is there every year.
This group now, Seth, who's the manager, he just adored Earl. And he lived in our guest house for a couple of years before he got his own place. And so it's sort of like a family deal.
Okay.
And so he has respected Earl real, very much so. And I think Earl figured that's what he needed to do for them to see if they could get, I guess to keep up with the times is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So that was all I could think of. But I think he would have been happy what's happened now and how things are going now. He would be pleased to know that he was part of that. So.
Yes, it's a beautiful property, and it's kept very well.
So
it's kept very well.
Yeah, and it's well kept.
Yes.
And the people that are running it are real gentle, they're real dedicated people. And so I think, I'm proud that I still am connected with it. I still go up there. I still go for visitation because this is my community and these people are my people. So.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, what do you think that people misunderstand when it comes to, or don't appreciate even, when it comes to what a funeral home represents to a community?
representing the...
Well, like, people don't understand? There's people who don't understand death, like, and why would people go into the business of a funeral home when, like, I think there's a compassion that goes with it, with the end of life. So when you look at the funeral home business, what do you think that people misunderstand about it?
Well, I know one thing. I didn't ever want to die, and I never wanted to talk about death. But then I always said I'll never marry a doctor or a funeral director. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say you're never going to. Doesn't work. Sometimes it comes back and hits you in the face. But now, I don't know how to answer that because I'm not sure about the question.
Well, when people think about why would you own a funeral home?
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's a noble profession. I really think it's an honorable, and somebody has to do it.
Right.
And so if you have the temperament, as I said, Earl always looked very, straight and sort of looked strict and all, but Earl had a fantastic sense of humor. Ask any of the people that he knew. He was well respected because he was an honorable man, and I think he loved his profession. He got involved with it when he was 13 years old. The woman whose husband had the funeral home back in Tennessee brought him in and sort of mentored him because his mother wasn't there and Virginia was only 16. And I think that's when he found, at first he was excited about it because he was 13, and Ira, who owned the funeral home, enjoyed his liquor. And when they were coming down the mountains, he wouldn't drive, and he'd let Earl drive. And Earl was only 13 at the time, and he thought that was that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because you could only do it up in Tennessee, in the mountains, Tennessee, where there's not too many people.
Right.
And so that was how. Again, I lost my train of thought. So.
Well, that it's a noble profession.
Yeah. I think it is, and deserves it. Somebody has to do it.
Well, and it serves the community. It serves the community well.
Yeah, and it does, because you can't leave them there and let them smell too bad. It has to be done, so somebody has to do it. And that's, I don't know how he got in it on account of Ira, helping Ira, because Earl was, as I said, he was an achiever. He was driving when he was 13. He had his own business up in Tennessee. I mean, he was just, he liked to go, he loved to do things. And I think this is why it came all about and what he did and whatever.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful legacy that he and you created.
Yeah,
and helping the community in the hospital all the way through the end of life is quite the legacy.
Well, some people questioned it. Some people thought I was helping Earl along. So, I mean, when that wasn't true. That was when, as I said, Earl was most honorable. And if I were working and I called him and I mentioned somebody had died, he said, "Did you call me to ask me or to tell me that we have the kid?" I said, "No, I'm just..." He said, "Well, please don't do that, Thelma." He said,
"Oh, right."
Yeah, he said, "Don't do that because I don't want to hear it from anybody but the person herself."
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, because that's how noble and gentle he was.
That's amazing.
So.
That's who he was.
Yeah, so...
Well, you've lived through multiple chapters of Naples' life, from a tiny seaside town to, a destination today. What changes have you seen that surprised you the most in Naples?
Well, the people. I didn't think that many people would like to come to Florida, but they do, so I'm really surprised. But I think Naples, the way we were, and, the people that had it, that loved it, they loved their fishing and they loved their life. But I think they got to accept the fact that we have to keep up with the times. And so they had to go along with it.
Right.
And some of us have done very well from it. Our life is very different than people up north. I know it's different from my sisters because I don't have to worry about snow and all that stuff.
Right.
You know, and so I think, again, I've lost.
Oh, we're just talking about the changes that surprised you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm surprised that all the people came, but then I'm not because they enjoy it.
Okay, so besides all the people that you didn't know would come,
Yeah.
are there any traditions or that you feel Naples has held on to in all these years?
The what?
Traditions. What traditions do you think Naples still carries from when you, over the years? I mean, we have the tree lighting today, so that's something.
So I don't really, because in the last couple of years, I haven't been involved in a lot of stuff on account of my age and stuff.
Right.
But I feel that I think we're on the right track. And if they keep this controlled building and stuff, I think it would still be old Naples 50 years from now.
Right.
Just like when we came and the old timers were here, I'm hoping people can say that 50 years from now.
Yeah.
That Thelma said it's going to be the same 50 years now that was last, but which of course isn't going to happen. But then that's it. I don't really know if I can think of anything else. So.
Well, I think they've done a good job downtown of keeping some of the ambiance.
Oh yeah.
Of old Naples, quote unquote.
I always thought they should have kept more, but then I'm not a business person down there, so I don't really know because I feel it would have been quaint. It would have been old Naples. People would have really loved it.
Right.
Because to me, it was, right now I've been down there, and I wouldn't go much because it's too crowded. But they have to go somewhere, so they might just as well come here, spend their money, and we live as comfortable as we do.
Right.
So.
Right. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
If you think back to the young woman who came here in 1955, what would you say if you looked at the community today?
So.
From 55 to now, if you were that girl in 1955.
And I came now?
And you came now, what would you say?
I would say.
What would you say?
I would say, well, where are the guys? I don't see any young men around, so no. That's all I hear. There's not enough young men around.
Right.
But no, I think I would be very impressed. I love the way everything is so bright. Because I hate the snow. I hate the dark. And everything is clean. I think the whole community, that we're so lucky that people have come, have kept our way of living, have not tried to, they've shoved some stuff down our throat, but I think there are enough people here that we're trying to keep them as close to what we were as they can. Right. And it's not going to last too long because more things are coming that we don't have any idea of. So.
Right. No, that's beautiful. So if you were to say, if you were to share with us something that we don't know about yourself and or Earl, or you both, what is it that we might not know about you, your history, or your life with Earl? Like,
I can't remember. I can't think of any.
You think we've got the history down?
Huh?
Do we have your history down of Naples?
Oh, no. I've had so many people ask me, I get tired of it. And I feel bad that I'm hoping all of these interviews I've given that they have kept it, because I'm lucky at 97. I can still relate to a lot. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be a time I'm not going to be, and most of my people and my friends are all gone. I have friends now that were born here, and they still, I think they should be interviewed, but some of them aren't as clear as I am. Mm. And so, they don't want to try it.
Right.
But they have more stories to tell than I have. But I've told you more about the hospital than any of them know because they weren't there.
I agree. This is the most in-depth on the
I think
hospital.
I'm happy about that. So That's why I'm happy I did this.
Well,
for
thank
you
you.
because it is about the hospital.
Well, thank you, because I know, they've changed a lot and people don't know the roots of it.
Yeah.
The hospital.
So,
When the future generations hear the name Thelma Hodges, what do you hope they remember about your contributions? I think I know the answer, but you tell me.
well, I hope they just remember that I came from a very humble family. I was happy to hit Naples. I'm happy that I helped because I feel if I had been born here, I couldn't have loved this place more and have tried to get it on the right track than I have had. Earl and I both tried because we both felt that they was a community worth keeping and that they've done a lot for us. So,
That's beautiful. I think that's what you will be totally remembered for.
okay.
Now, as we wrap up, was there a moment when you realized Naples was going to be bigger than we expected?
Well, I know these hurricanes have helped, but then I don't really know. I think it happened so fast. I don't think anybody could really tell when it did because it started slow, but all of a sudden it just exploded. And right now we're in a lull, but that'll keep on going because it's going worldwide. So it's not that we're just different from anybody else.
Yeah, I agree. Well, they say it was after Donna, a hurricane, the 60s. Then we had the 80s.
Yeah, there's all of them have contributed to for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And they'll keep on because we'll have more storms, more disasters, more stuff. And people have to learn how to live with it. And I think they will because that's why I hate to go because this is going to be a fantastic world.
Oh.
Yeah, in the times to come, different things.
Well, I think we're going to have you in this chair again in a few years because you're just so smart and have so much history and you're spot on.
Yeah, so.
You are spot on. I tell you. Well, is there anything you want to share with us that I haven't asked you?
So, not that I can think of. I might at 2:00 in the morning and call you, but I won't do that.
Well, you can always have somebody send me a message. You can send me a message, and who knows, we may have you back on. So, we've got 52 episodes we're trying to do, so I might need some filler.
So.
But Thelma, thank you so much for sharing your history today, sharing your story about the hospital and your time here with Earl. I'm glad we got to touch on his legacy. So thank you for joining us and sharing your gift to Naples.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored that people keep asking me. I just hope that everybody enjoys it as much as you have, me telling you stories, because I felt it was a real experience for me, and I don't know how many people experience such a thing in life. And I hope they do, that they enjoy it. So
I think they will.
Thank you for having me, and I hope I last long enough so that at 100 I can come back and tell you.
Oh, yes. At 100, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, Zach, you heard that. We're going to do it at 100.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much. And to our listeners, thank you so much for being with us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and a special thank you to our technology sponsor, Robert of Philadelphia, because without them, we would not be able to bring you this wonderful broadcast. And we will see you next time on Icons of Naples.